friends, it's Julie. I'm back and I'm making videos again and I couldn't be happier. I have missed this so much. I have been working on the third book for my novel series and it's out on Halloween, so it is really crunch time right now. And I have been really busy, but it's a good busy, so it's been worth it, but it has meant that I have not made a video in quite some time. Thank you very much for sticking with me and for your patience. That said, it has had me thinking about a topic that I've wanted to discuss for some time now. It's one that I haven't really known how I want to approach it. I've kind of been having a hard time getting my mind around it, so to speak. As you can see from the video title, I am finally covering the topic of rosacea, stress, and mental health. And when I say mental health, I mean all sorts of different kinds of issues, not just the ones that I currently experience. There is a huge amount to unpack here, so I thought instead of trying to make one unbelievably long and horribly inadequate video, I would try and break it down into a multi-part series. I'm thinking it's probably going to be 3 parts long at the moment, but I am going to ask for your help here. If you have any subjects in terms of rosacea and mental health, rosacea and stress, anxiety, depression, any of that kind of thing, I would love it if you would leave a comment. I will see what I can do. If I know anything about it or have experienced it myself, then I will be happy to talk about it. That said, I do think that it's really important to point out here that I am not a doctor, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or any of those things. When I mean talk about it, I just mean as a discussion in terms of what I know, what I've experienced, and what I've read about on various sites that I trust, like rosacea.org, the National Rosacea Society, and the Mayo Clinic, and other really well-reputed sites, in addition to actual studies that I've read too, because I like to read medical studies, because who doesn't like that? So that being said, I'm not here to diagnose you. I'm not here to give you recommendations as to what you should do. If you think that you have rosacea, or that you know that you have rosacea, or you think or know that you have some sort of mental health or physical health issue and you are looking for diagnosis or advice, I really strongly recommend that you speak with a doctor. They are the ones who can actually help you out. I'm just a patient myself, just like you. I may look up a lot of stuff and ask a lot of questions to various experts and doctors and things, but that does not make me an expert myself. For this first video, what I'm going to talk about is basically sharing a little bit of my own experience and a few basics in terms of some of the concepts that I'm going to be discussing, things like that. I just want to get into why I'm interested in this particular subject and how it affects me, and then we can expand on it in parts 2 and 3 in terms of how it kind of affects all of us who have rosacea and who are affected by things like stress and anxiety as a trigger and as a symptom of our condition. Okay, so to get started, I wanted to actually talk about stress itself and what I'm going to mean by stress, because stress can come in good and bad forms. Not all stress is bad. Some stress is actually necessary and is healthy. That said, a lot of kinds of stress, good and bad, can affect our rosacea. So I thought I would actually discuss stress as a concept at its very most basic level, just so that we'd know when we're talking about stress in later videos what I'm actually referring to. So the first kind of stress is the most basic, ground level kind of stress, and that would be the type where you feel that you are in immediate, usually physical danger. The stress is the one that you get from your reptilian brain. It's the one that is the fight or flight response. It is built into our very physical, very primal, the part of the original part of our brain that has ever developed. And it is what gives us the ability to respond quickly and to think quickly and to be suddenly more alert and to have a physical boost so that we can either fight to save our lives or run to get away. If you've ever yourself, or if you've seen a video or anything like that of somebody who has almost been hit by a car and they've leapt right over top of the hood, or they've seen something happen and have suddenly had this almost superpower to lift something they wouldn't normally be able to lift, then that's usually because of this response. Your body suddenly is flooded with adrenaline and that just pumps you full of energy so that you can give yourself the best chance at getting away and living to see another day. So that is really unscientific, but that is the most sort of basic level of what that one's all about. So the first type of stress is just that fight or flight. You feel you're in immediate physical danger, and this is what helps you get away. The next type of stress is the one where you want to perform at your very best. You have a job interview, you have an important presentation, you are playing on a sports team, and this is the game, something else that is just life-defining, and you need to make a good impression or perform at your very best. This stress is the one that can help you, again, to have better mental and physical capacity so that you can push through and perform at your very best. Interestingly, this stress is actually based on that same original stress, the one that you felt from in the previous kind where your life was in danger. It is still the fight or flight response. It just happens to be because you think that this particular goal is so important that you're having the same reaction. It is life or death. That's how important this is to you. So your body and your stress responds in the same way. In those first two situations, the stress that you feel might not be comfortable. You get that, racing heart, you're breathing faster, your hands might be shaky, that kind of thing. But at the same time, it's helpful. It helps you to get away from a dangerous situation, and it helps you to perform at your best in a situation that you feel is really, really important. But there are also forms of stress that are not helpful, and that is normally a chronic type of stress. So you live a very, very stressful lifestyle, a job that has you on call 24 hours, and you just never know exactly how something very important is going to work out. You could have just received medical news that is long-term, that is something that you didn't want to hear. It could be that you're going through a very uncomfortable transition in your life, or a positive transition, but one that you're just really unsure about the income and you have a lot of worries, that kind of thing. When you have that kind of chronic stress, that type of thing can be damaging, because when stress is just constantly there day and night and it never goes away, it doesn't give your body the chance to come down from that really excited state. So it doesn't have the chance to relax, and it doesn't have the chance to recover as well as it can. There are a lot of processes that go on that are very, very hard on the body and on the mind for that matter. And finally, there's kind of a positive type of stress, if you want to call it that, and that's the type of stress that you feel that's actually a very good but powerful sensation. It's an excitement. You've won a prize, you got the job or the promotion you wanted, you got really great news of some kind. As much as those are all very, very positive things, they all actually create this very similar type of response in the body. Something really fantastic happens, you get the increased heart rate, you get the increased respiratory rate, your hands might still shake. If you learn something absolutely fantastic, it still can give you that same rush. If you experience stress as a trigger, like I experience stress as a trigger, absolutely any one of those kinds of stress can actually create a rosacea response. Whether good or bad, whether I am upset and blushing because I've been embarrassed, or I've just been scared, or I'm going through something traumatic, or I just had something really fantastic happen, one of my first responses is to have a flushed face, and that could last for a few minutes, or it could last for quite a long time. In my case, I know that things are exaggerated. I do have a number of mental disorders. If you have been watching my videos for a while, then you know that I suffer from several different kinds of mental health condition, and each of those can actually contribute to worsening my rosacea symptoms as well. At the same time, rosacea can also play a role in worsening my mental health conditions, depending on how well my skin is doing it and how comfortable it is at a certain given time. For those of you who haven't been watching my channel for a while, I suffer from social anxiety disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, obsessive thoughts, and I am also prone to periods of depression. So it's a lot of fun being me, and it's a lot of fun being around me at the same time. I was first diagnosed when I was 19 years old with my first condition, which was social anxiety disorder. As it turns out, I've probably had that since my early childhood, but that was the first diagnosis that I actually received, and that was the first time that I started receiving any kind of treatment. I hadn't even heard of social anxiety disorder before that point. My sister just happened to hear a show about it on the radio and came home and told me that I sounded exactly like that, and I went to see the doctor, and it turned out he agreed. Over the years, to try to manage this, I have taken a lot of different kinds of medication and have tried lots of different kinds of therapies. I've taken antidepressants, including Zoloft, which was a little yellow and white capsule. I've taken Paxil, which is this little pink guy here. I have taken beta blockers, which look like this, and they are what I was given along, I think I was given that one along with Zoloft because the Zoloft didn't control my racing heart and it felt like I was having a heart attack and I was fainting from that. So I got those pills for that one, and then later on when that wasn't enough, I got these really tiny little things here, and those are Ativan, and those are something that I would stick under my tongue, wait for it to dissolve, and that would clear up a panic attack. These are all very old pills, and I didn't even know that I had them, but I discovered them the other day, and I am returning those, as well as some expired anti-allergy pills and my old contact lenses that I don't wear anymore, to the pharmacist. So don't worry, I am not hanging on to these for any bizarre reason other than to get rid of them at the pharmacist properly. That said, I did bring them out just because I thought it might provide a cool visual to show that, yes, I have been on a lot of medications to try to control all of my everything going on in my head. I took these in various dosages and combinations over the years. Throughout the time that I was on these different medications, I worked really hard to be able to try to control the symptoms on my own until I finally was ready to wean myself off of them. And I do mean weaning myself off these drugs because they are highly addictive, and I was definitely stuck on them when I was trying to, even when I was just gradually reducing the dose according to my doctor's instructions, I was getting withdrawal symptoms like electric shocks in my teeth and hands, so that was not fun, nor was the feeling of having like a nail pounded into the top of my head during the night. So these are definitely very serious medications. They definitely helped me, but they should not be taken lightly. I'm not taking anything now. I'm feeling very proud of that. I don't think that anybody who is taking these types of assistance to get through their struggles should think less of themselves. I took them for 9 years, and I don't know how I would have gotten through that time without the added help. The symptoms that I was experiencing were very, very strong, and I don't know how I wouldn't have ended up basically as a shut-in if I hadn't had that extra help, so that would reduce my symptoms while I was learning to cope with them on my own. That said, I have far from mastered coping. I have improved it definitely. I am still trying different things. All I can do is try to be very, very aware of my symptoms and to my responses to my symptoms to try to make sure that I'm always having the healthiest reaction that I can manage. I still have a lot of triggers for my anxiety, and especially for the panic. The main ones are things like talking on the phone. I do have a phone, but I do not have a ringtone for the voice calls because I won't answer it anyway. I'm just not quite there yet. I am trying to build up to phone calls, but there are about 4 people in the world that I'm comfortable talking on the phone with. My top challenge is with invasive thoughts. While I am able to leave my home and go to the store and go shopping and meet people, and I even do attend events with my co-author to promote my book, I still know that when I do a lot of these things and I have appointments and things like that, I probably won't sleep the night before, and I may or may not sleep the night afterward because my thoughts are stopping me. They're constantly telling me things like, I shouldn't have said something, or I've probably offended somebody, they don't like me anymore because of that, that I've hurt somebody's feelings, that I said a joke that just wasn't funny and now they think they don't respect me anymore. I know that these thoughts are ridiculous, consciously, rationally. I know that no single thing that I say in passing that is that small and light is going to be taken that seriously. Nobody thinks that the things that I say are that important, but that doesn't seem to stop my brain at all. And that stops me from sleeping. Insomnia goes hand in hand with that, and then when I don't sleep, both my rosacea and my invasive thoughts get worse. If you want me to talk any more about any of the topics, those topics, my triggers, my anxiety, my individual conditions, any of that kind of stuff, I will happily do that in another video. Please request that in the comments, but I know that I'm digressing right now from the rosacea a little bit, and I'd kind of like to stay on track for this series. I will be much more focused in parts 2 and 3. I'm just trying to create a foundation so you understand where I'm coming from. So the whole point to all this is that stress and anxiety and depression and rosacea are all linked in a lot of ways. Fortunately, they do create a kind of vicious cycle among a lot of us. I know that this is how I experience it. I know that I have been talking to a lot of you over email and over direct messages over my different social media accounts, and you've talked about this quite a lot, about the anxiety that you feel from your rosacea and that it's making your rosacea worse, or the other way around, that you feel anxiety and then it brings out your rosacea. I feel, at least in my case, that it goes both ways. One of them just feeds off the other and it gets worse and worse and worse, and it's easy to get caught up in it. This is a common way for one of the cycles to start up for me is that I will have a flare-up from whatever it might be. I've eaten something funny, I've had something embarrassing happen and I blush and it just triggers the whole thing. I went out in the sun and didn't realize I would be out there for so long and it sets it off. Whatever it happens to be, I end up with a flare-up that brings with it redness, stinging, burning, itching, bumps, and all those fun symptoms that we tend to go through. Because of that, I feel more stressed, I'm uncomfortable, I feel ugly, I feel like other people can see it happening, and especially because when I blush when I'm embarrassed, but then it doesn't go away. So people think that I'm still upset even if I'm not, and I blush really easily. It doesn't take a lot of embarrassment, it just takes like, oops, and that's it, then my face will flare up. So as soon as I start to feel even the slightest bit stressed or embarrassed, then I flush even more, so any of those original symptoms will get worse. And as those symptoms get worse, I'm aware of them, I'm more uncomfortable, and I feel more stress, and that just keeps building. And then I become uncomfortable enough that I don't sleep very well at night. I end up lying awake, listening to my invasive thoughts. The next day, I'm less capable of coping with stress because I'm not well rested and I've been torturing myself for the last 10 hours or whatever, however long I was lying in bed trying to sleep. And because of that, it just gets worse. My symptoms get worse, my face keeps flushing, it keeps being itchy and uncomfortable, I feel ugly, and so on and so on and so on. So as you can see, once you get into the cycle of bouncing your rosacea symptoms and your stress or anxiety off each other, it's really difficult to crack your way out. And it sounds like it should be easy. It sounds like you should tell yourself to just calm down, get over it, it's not that bad, it'll pass, all of those things. But when you're in it, it's not that easy. If you've ever been really upset about something, you can't just tell yourself not to be sad anymore or not to be afraid. And the same thing goes with stress. You can't just say, well, I'm not going to be stressed anymore, and then it's gone, because you can't just lift that away super easily. The rosacea symptoms tend to stick around. As a side note, I recently read a book called Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. He's a fantastic author. He is a fantastic YouTuber. I really have a lot of respect for him. It's a fiction novel, and the main character has absolutely nothing in common with me except that she has invasive thoughts, and her invasive thoughts are nothing like my invasive thoughts, but he has absolutely nailed the description on what it feels like to constantly be arguing with your brain. You feel like you're actually under attack by somebody else who just happens to also be you. And so if you experience this and you'd love to read about that experience, or if you know somebody else and you would like to know what they're going through, he has done a fantastic job. It's a really good book all by itself, but he has also done a wonderful job at describing the experience of being in the head of somebody who has all of these constantly invading obsessive thoughts. Side note over, whether you have a mental disorder or not, stress in all of its forms can have an effect on rosacea, and rosacea can have an effect on your stress. So whether it's because you have an anxiety disorder, you're suffering from depression, or there's just stuff going on in your life that makes you feel stressed for a moment or for a day or for a few days, they can all play off of each other, and nothing gives me a flare-up faster than sun is definitely my top trigger. I find that way easier to control though. Sun exposure is way easier to control than stress and anxiety and things like that, and I can feel stressed and instantly flare up. For that reason, a major part of the rosy lifestyle that I've been building to try and keep my rosacea symptoms under control has to do with actually controlling my stress, which is good for me anyway, since I do have anxiety disorders and panic disorders. I have already talked for a lot longer than I'd meant to. I kind of got into a few babbles there, but I really did want to set a foundation to let you know sort of where I'm coming from in terms of talking about stress and rosacea. Part 2 of this series is going to be about how rosacea is actually a trigger for various mental health conditions, how it can cause more stress in a person's life, and how it can actually increase the risk of mental health conditions. I have been finding a lot of studies that I will be discussing in the next video, and I will cite everything in the video description when that one comes out. Part 3 is going to be about how stress and anxiety and other mental health conditions can make rosacea symptoms worse. So it's the other way around, and I'm hoping to get into some coping techniques and things that have worked for me. I don't know what would work for you, but I'm hoping that by sharing what I'm going through, it will give you something to discuss with your doctor or something to try out for yourself if you feel that it is appropriate for your condition, either mentally or in terms of your rosacea, because I feel that this is something that is affecting an awful lot of us, and it hasn't been discussed enough. This link, which is very powerful and has been shown time and time again in research and is talked about in a lot of places that are specific to rosacea, it's not getting out there quite as much. We're talking more about foods and skincare products and the sun and that kind of thing, but our mental health isn't getting the attention that it probably should, because it is affecting our lives and our rosacea symptoms for that matter. So because of that, I just wanted you to know that you are not the only one who is struggling with this kind of thing. If you are struggling with it, you are not alone, and there are a lot of things that we can do to cope with our anxiety, our stress, and therefore a lot of the triggers that are making our rosacea symptoms worse. So I hope you liked this video. I hope it was informative to you and helpful and entertaining in some way. Again, if you do have any requests specific to stress and rosacea that you'd like me to cover in one of the future videos in this series, then I hope you will make a comment and let me know what they are. I will try to accommodate if I can. If you did like this video, I hope you will give me a big thumbs up. That way I will know. I do pay attention to the number of little thumbs ups that I get for a given video, because that lets me know that that is a video that you enjoyed and that you would like to see more of that type of thing in the future. And if you do want to see more stuff like this, then I hope you'll subscribe to my channel and click the little bell if you want to be notified every time I put out a new video. I try to put them out every Sunday, and sometimes I have one out on Thursdays as well. And I guess that's everything, and I will see you next time.